everyone. I have a word for you today, and I'm going to read from 2 Corinthians 10, verse 12. Paul is speaking, and he says, "We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise." Now, though what I'm speaking about today is maybe somewhat out of context to this verse, it is also not really out of context because it speaks about comparison. And what the issue was that people were accusing Paul and says, the letters that you write to us are very bold, but when you are here, you are very meek, and we're not going to go into that detail. But then Paul replies and he says, listen, we dare not even to compare ourselves with those um, who commend themselves. And basically what Paul is just saying, that comparison is not wise, especially in the way that they do it. They find and hoard certain people towards themselves, and then they, especially when they compare, they're like, ooh, look at us, we are doing well, and we are better than you, type thing. But the point that I want to make today is that comparison in general, because we can pull this theme through to every area of our lives, parenting, um, our earthly possessions, the cars that we drive, how much you achieve in ministry, how many conferences, I don't know, you presented or attended, or how much do you pray and how much do you read your word. You can make it as spiritual as you want or as natural as you want. People have this thing of comparing because they want to think, or at least say that I'm at least doing okay. So there's many reasons why people compare, because they maybe feel insecure. So when I'm at least doing better than the person next to me, I can feel better by myself. Or they want to justify themselves. So maybe they're not quite on the right track, but look at those people. They're even worse off, so I'm kind of all right. So whatever it is that we do to compare ourselves, it is a wrong thinking. A thinking where you place yourself in contrast to another person for whatever reason it is that you want to soothe your conscience. But we have to realize that com- comparison is really just that. It soothes your conscience in a certain way, and it is definitely not the enlightened part of your conscience. It is when our consciences are weak and tainted that we have to go in that direction. So my advice for people, for any person, is that you have to turn to Jesus and ask him to first of all show you who you are, so that you don't have to compare in terms of your characteristics, what you are, of who you are and what you have, but also ask and speak to Jesus about what you should be doing, because then you also don't have to compare the things that you do, not only your identity, the things that you do and what you attain in life, compare that to other people. When we know that we can stand in obedience to the Holy Spirit, and when we can with a clear conscience say, listen, this is who I am, and I am only doing what God shows me to do, whether it is less than you are doing or more than you are doing. I know this is the path that God has set out for me. When we can do that with a clear conscience, we will not fall in the trap of comparison. And then we also don't have to have this false humility where we are lesser than others, or also this prideful thing where we have to trample on others to get ahead. I mean, there's lots that we can say about comparison and the different contexts they can apply to. But I'm sure you can make your own assumptions of where you maybe compare things in your life. So when you realize that your mind is going in the direction of comparison, and yes, I am also guilty of this thing, in certain areas, like for example parenting, it's not a struggle for me. I know that I have to do and can do what God shows me to do, and I would ask for help, but I know that comparing is not worth my while. But when you find yourself in that trap of comparison, turn to Jesus, say to him, okay, Lord, help me out of this thing. Give me the grace to focus on the right things again, and not have to consider other people, but only consider your word over my life in this situation. I hope it helps you today. Bless you.